Step right up and behold one of the unexplained mysteries of the universe. Is he man or beast?
Guillermo, you had me from minute one in this film. I was completely gripped. But Shape of Water, I stopped eating fish, and now I'm not going to eat chicken anymore. So I don't know what you've done to me.
Dietary restrictions.
Dietary restrictions.
I'm familiar with that.
So you have said that making this film really expanded and changed who you said you'll never make a film this way, the same way again because of this experience, and that it revealed things to you that you didn't even know as a filmmaker, despite how many films you've made. Can you talk about that and why that was?
Yes, I mean, look, normally what I try to create is a playground for the actors, but I have a very, very precise notion where the scene will go. And I started to listen to the movie more rather than making the movie do what I wanted. And this came partially from the fact that on the screen, you had an acting prize fight every day. You had Willem Dafoe and Bradley Cooper. You had Kate Blanchett and Bradley Cooper. You had Richard Jenkins, Rooney Mara. It was like a fantastic master lesson on things happening. And I had to keep my camera observant and active and vigilant of them rather than tell them, you go here, you go here. We would find the scene as it talked to us, and the camera adjusted accordingly. And that was a life-changing thing, because we were all looking for the truth. How can I make this movie that happens in the past be about right now? Thematically, of course, truth, lies, selling the illusion, which we all live with every day now. But how do we make it living? Not feel like a play in a prestigious production, but make it feel like a real thing with characters going at it.
So one of the biggest themes of this film, and especially through Bradley's character, is a person finding out who they truly are. So was this a bit of a mirror? Did you find out who you truly are as a director? And if so, who is Guillermo as a director now as a result of this film?
Well, I think you find it on every film. You find it on every film. But I think, look, I think all of us, every single person gets a moment or two of revelation in their lives where they see themselves. It can be pleasant or it can be completely unpleasant, depending on the moment. And I think every time you go to a movie, you're building a mirror in a strange way, and you learn about yourself.
There was a lot of mirrors in this film, I noticed.
Oh, yeah, very much on purpose, yes.
Yeah, I thought so. And the chicken in the room service, I noticed that too. Can you talk just very briefly about, I know you have Pinocchio coming out next year. How did this film inform that one at all? And what can we expect with that world as a result in creating that character?
It's funny you should ask, because they do have parallels. Obviously, Pinocchio has a big section in a carnival, and there's strange little echoes between the two. And Pinocchio deals with a different thematic. Pinocchio is about what makes a human, and what makes a human a puppet, or a puppet a human, because it's set during the rise of Mussolini in fascist Italy. So it's a really interesting thematic exercise, that one.
If you displease the right people, the world closes in on you very, very fast.
A couple of years ago, I don't know if you remember saying this, you said, when are they going to make a circus movie? I'm ready. I don't know if you knew about this film already. This is obviously a carnival. Step right up. I love that you got to say that. Was it everything as an actor you hoped and dreamed it would be?
You always got to be careful about expectations when you go into things. But I will say that I remember going to carnivals as a kid, because I grew up in the Midwest in a time where those things still came through town, even like the 10 and 1s, the sideshows, the pickled punks, the crazy stuff. I remember that. And particularly the people that worked the carnival were always very darkly romantic characters to me, scary, but the fantasy of running off with them was always very strong. So now, and then at my age now, I'm able to do that, and that was cool.
So as a kid, what was the favorite act, or what would, like, if you actually did a circus movie, what would you want to, which character would you want to play?
I know exactly. I would like to do, the story of the Walendas, the trapeze artists.
Yeah, wire work. You like some wire work, which I'll get to in a minute.
I do, and I'm not sure I could do it. Do the trapeze stuff, with the proper training, but I might be able to, to be kind of the elder statesman of the trapeze family. That would be a very cool role.
Guillermo,
the Flying Walenda story.
There you go. You've put it out in the universe. Let's talk about Guillermo. Your first time working with him as a director. Yeah. And I know he really created that carnival for you guys to live in, but can you talk about, he said it changed him as a director making this movie, and he really let the camera pour over you guys and didn't call cut. Can you talk about that experience?
Yeah, he did give us a very complete world. That carnival could almost have functioned. We could have almost, charged admission and invited people there. I mean, things really worked. There was such incredible detail, and it was so beautiful. So he gave us a beautiful world to play in, gave us a very strong script that he wrote with Kim. And, but once we got there, he was also very loose. And Bradley, working with Guillermo, they were very tight, and they had a good rhythm going. And by the time I came into the movie, because they shot the second part first, and then there was a break for COVID, and then they went back to do the carnival part. When I came in, they were very loose. So of course we would shoot the scripted stuff, but how we would get into that stuff and how we would get out of that, we often played around with. So some of the connective tissue, we really got to play around. And as well prepared as Guillermo is, he's also gets in a place, sees what's going on, and is very loose and lets you play. So that's a great place to be as an actor.
I love him. Speaking of wire work, there's a Spider Woman in this movie. Spider-Man. There was a little shot of Spider-Man. How was it going back into that?
Spider Woman was my wife in the movie. It wasn't clear just because it's a lot of story there, so maybe it wasn't clear.
I wish I had more than 4 minutes or 5 minutes with you. But inhabiting that world again, going back to the Spider-Man world, you're a very busy actor. Your future looks bright. How was it going back into that world? And also you're teaming up with Robert Eggers again. Can you just sort of talk about both of those?
Sure. I mean, I've been lucky to be doing a lot of stuff lately, and a lot of stuff that I love. And I always love, I come from the theater, and it's in the theater that I worked at was True Company. So sometimes we performed the same piece over 20 years. I was with this company for almost 30 years, and we would tour a lot internationally. And sometimes we'd bring back pieces. So it's nice to visit the same roles again, visit same territory, down the line, revisit things. That's the nature of theater also. So similarly, I like going back and working with people that I've had good experiences with, or working in situations that I've had good experiences with. This time you can go deeper, or you can do something different. You have a shorthand already. You have an understanding, you have a trust. It's a big leg up, where when you work from zero, that can be great too, but you've got to shepherd all those things before you can really get down to it. But sometimes when you have a good rapport with a director or with a material, you're much more flexible, you're much more free, and you can really fly.
The monologue in this movie that you have about the geek really sets up the ending. As an actor, how juicy was that for you?
Well, it's a story basically, and I remember that was the first thing we shot. That was my first day. It's a beautifully written story, and it's an interesting story and full of. You're not quite sure how he feels about this. He's kind of excited to share it, but also He's not gloating. He doesn't exactly enjoy this. It's a kind of an expression of a very dark view of the world as well. So it's complicated emotionally, but I think as far as actually performing it, the most important thing was basically tell the story to Bradley, that Bradley character, and just make it clear and kind of gauge how he was feeling about what I was telling him, because some aspects of it are a little shocking. So that was the play. That was the play.
Are you in contact with the beyond?
Well, we've had our share of snake charmers in the past. We deal with them.
You are reuniting with Guillermo del Toro in this film. First of all, he has said that it really changed him as a director working on this film. Did you feel that difference from this and Shape of Water? And what is it about Guillermo that he always wants you to freeze on set?
Well, he said it's because he's from Mexico and he doesn't have cold or rain in Mexico and he loves them both. I don't know, but he's going to have to stop doing that.
He needs to say something on an island.
Oh, it's so cold. It was so cold. But no, I mean, I've always thought he's open to it took me a while to understand it. Anybody you work with, it takes you a while to understand their process and what they do and how they think. And, I had an image of Guillermo as someone who is very controlling in the sense that he knows what he wants. This movie is in his head. You heard him talk about it. If you've talked to him about this, every time I hear him, I go, oh my gosh, really? Oh, wow. But the truth is he's really open. He's open. And to anything you want to try, anything you want to do. And once you realize that about him, I mean, as I say, it's hard to think of anybody with those same qualities, both of those qualities together. But that's Guillermo. And I could tell from some of the choices that he made in the edit of what takes he used, that he was looking for something a little different this time. He was looking for something. It's like the only thing that mattered to him in the scene was it alive? Was it two human beings talking and living their life in front of him on the screen?
Wow, interesting. You said in a Q&A that you loved that it was great fun to play somebody who gets what they want. Can you talk about this character? Did it feel different from perhaps others? I mean, this is a man of great wealth. And the first time we see him, I had a feeling of terror. I felt like he had capacity to be very cruel, or I wasn't really sure who he was going to be.
Well, I always thought he was a pretty sweet guy, but I think we all, most people think who, me? I'm a wonderful person, but I love the fact that he gets what he wants, because it proves that doesn't mean anything. Most people in this movie get what they want. Stanley gets what he wants, and look what it does to him. It's really interesting. I think a lot of us want the wrong things.
Isn't that the darn truth? Speaking of getting what you want, the first time you read the script, did you have a reaction to the fact that you're flipping through the pages and you're like, wait, where am I? What was your reaction as an actor?
Well, I trusted Guillermo. I knew I was thrilled when I read it. I was thrilled when I read this guy. I just think it's so interesting to play somebody who is after one thing. He's after forgiveness. That's what he wants. He wants to be forgiven for an act he committed years and years ago, and he gets his wish. And look what happens to him. It was really an interesting thing to do.
As an actor, did you channel anybody? Did you use anybody as an inspiration, or did you just really mainly delve in the script?
Well, the script is where all of the clues are. I mean, that's where every clue is to you as an actor, to who you are. It's what you do, what you say, what people say about you, how people respond to you. I mean, that's where the clues are. And that's kind of where I go.
And then how much do you reveal as an actor, and how much do you hold back? I mean, you've been doing this for so long. How do you make that choice of the balancing act?
Well, it's who you're talking to on screen, what you're doing. If you want them to know something, or if you don't want them to know something, it's that's kind of what you do. Sometimes you don't want them to know something, and by accident it slips out that so it's really it's again, I'll say that for me, I love watching characters live their life on the screen. Nothing more. Nothing more. I don't want them to tell me anything. I don't want them to say to me as an audience, "Oh, I said I like this person, but I really don't." I don't want that. I want to see people dealing with what's going on in their lives.
I will ask you simple questions. You will answer in short sentences only what you believe to be absolute truth.
Absolute truth. I can do that.
Congratulations on this film. You play both a mentor and a mentalist. I'm going to start with the mentalist part. Your character has this book that he eventually gives to Bradley's character, where it's all the tricks of the trade, the secrets of becoming a mentalist. Was that book actually filled with true things? Like how much how much backstory did you create for yourself?
That book was a code book.
Wow.
Whoever had done the props, I forget their name at the moment, but it was a beautiful document, artifact. But they had written in with drawings, numbers, codes. The whole thing was in there, packed with it. And so to have that as a resource was extraordinary.
And how much backstory did you create for your character? Because he's at a certain point in his life, but you sense that he's, he's covering up things by drinking, but he's also at peace in a sense, more than any other character, I think, in the film with where he's at. So how much of a backstory did you create? And how much of a mentalist are you now as a result of researching this character?
Well, I love that you mentioned that he's at peace. And I think Pete and Xena, for the most part, are these characters who are at peace with their life. They're in the Carnival. They've been doing this for a long time. Obviously, they were a lot more successful. They were in the on the circuit and making quite a career for themselves. And they're sort of at the end he's at the end definitely of his time. But the fact that he is at peace is significant in the film, because here is a place in a world which is fraught with danger and fantasticness and lots of transient behavior. And it's a really gritty, rough place. But they live in a little house in the film for the moment when the carnival's there, and they offer Bradley's character, Stanton Carlisle, a potential family. So I think that's it's great that you mentioned the peace of Pete.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that I'm a mentalist. That's a particular skill, I think, that you have to hone and practice over many, many, many years. And you need a code book. And I don't know.
Well, in a sense, an actor is a mentalist in a way, because you're always, if you're a great actor, you're reading another character and processing and hopefully taking that person in. I want to ask you, you sort of led me into one of my questions when you were talking about that world. First time working with Guillermo del Toro, he really created that world of the Carnival for you to sort of live in. Can you talk about that aspect of it, how it allowed you to immerse yourself in that world? Was it claustrophobic because you're kind of behind, did it feel claustrophobic in a sense?
No.
But he really did set it up for you in a way that you could just exist in that world. Can you talk about that? And the Guillermo factor of it all.
Well, you arrive on the set, and it's not really a set. You're arriving at a carnival.
Wow.
Yes, wow. It could have stayed there throughout however long, and people from the neighboring towns would come there, and they could go to the carnival because it was real. I don't know other word to describe it with. We were out in the weather. It was probably the size of a football field that they built this whole thing. Nothing artificial about it.
Wow.
So as an actor, you put on your wardrobe that is meticulously designed and researched.
Yeah.
And you walk into the world, and there it is. Everywhere you look, there's equipment, there's camera equipment, but
the thing that you were most overwhelmed with and most it was the fact that here you are walking in mud. It's raining. You're lying in straw. The tents are the same. It was just, and that's Guillermo's genius of, and also the production company and the production designers to accomplish that. Extraordinary.
I'm going to end with kind of an existential question in a sense, but one of the biggest themes of this film is a person finding out who they truly are. I'm wondering, when you are an actor, does that bring you closer to who you really are, do you think? Or because you're playing a character, are you further away because you're playing these characters?
Well, it's always a challenge to discover who the character is. There may be similarities. You have certain things that you might identify with that might ring a bell about, oh yes, but for the most part, it's the quest is to discover who the character is. And, you know, that's, it's probably a lot easier than Stanton Carlyle's journey to learn who he was, which he eventually comes to reckon with, is figuring out who actually he is and what he needs in the world. But yeah, that's one of the I would say fun, but challenging, but also exciting things about doing this is you get to inhabit or guess, or at least create something else, you know, another person.